Hey everybody, Ben here. This is it. I'd like to announce our next big competition, which is somewhat different than any competition we've run before. It's not a painting competition, it's not a rules design competition, it's not a player competition. What this is a short story competition. Okay, and this is something that we're running in conjunction with Rob from Secret Carnage / North Wales Carnage Cup, friend of the podcast. Rob, great guy, and this is all about encouraging that next part of the hobby. So Blood Bowl is many things to many people. It's rules, it's competition, it's story, it's painting, and we're focusing on the story here because we've played the game. We've explored the game, we've explored the painting, we've explored the design, and now we want to see if we can explore the story. So from now until the end of September, we are running this competition. It's up to 3,000 words. We're saying, you know what, it's up to you how many words you do. If you want to write 10,000, that's fine, but it's going to be difficult to judge. However, props to you. But we're saying around 3,000 words, 2,000 to 3,000 words should be enough for a cool short story. There's a couple of restrictions. It does have to be about Blood Bowl. Now, what that means to you, it could be an interview with a player, it could be a dramatized match report, it could be something about the off-pitch antics of a team, or whatever, just something to do with Blood Bowl. We want to explore your writing potential. We would like it to be PG-13, so there's violence, absolutely. We just want to make sure that our audience, because obviously on here we do our very best to keep the cursing to a minimal, so you guys can listen when you're driving around with your kids, which is one of our main goals when Rich and I started this podcast, was we want people to be able to listen to this in the car or have their kids around, and we'd like these stories to be alongside that. However, violence apparently is just a part of Blood Bowl, so I think that's part of the risk, and it should be original works of fiction. What Rob is trying to organise is to get some Black Library kind of guys to do the judging. He had them do this for one of his tournaments. There was basically a team background design competition, and he got some Black Library authors to judge it. He wants to do the same again. If not, then it will be down to me, Rob, to work through, and we'll probably get Bloodtithe Ben on board as well as another judge, and it will really be how well written it is, how immersive the story is. Don't worry too much if your language isn't great, like your grammar or anything like that. We're looking at story, we're looking at drama, we're looking at excitement, and I'm really looking forward to this. It's something we've never done before, and I'm very excited to progress with something like this. It is kind of linked to Mega Bowl, so we want entries in by the end of September, so that we can judge them and then announce the winner alongside or coming up to Mega Bowl. Now, what do you win? So Rob and I have a tendency to give out loads of stuff as prizes at tournaments or whatever. So runners up, we'll look after you. If we think there's a particularly great one, we'll look after you. But the winner will at least win, and we've got this agreed by Maelstrom Mats. You will design a custom mat with Jack at Maelstrom, and so for your team, for your whatever, I'm happy to help with logos. He's going to put the pitch together for you, a full-size pitch, and send it to you, and that will be on us. So that is basically the big prize. A second part of the prize is something that, again, I've always been excited by, and whether you'll want it or not is a different matter, and whether it'll be any good is a completely different matter. But what we'd like to do is, for at least the winning story, is do an audio version for it. So since I was a kid, I've loved audiobooks. I still listen to a ton of Audible, and I don't know, I get excited at the prospect of putting something like that together. So the winner, at least the winner, maybe even more if we get some really good ones, we will do an audio version for, so you can hear your story being read aloud, hopefully with some music and sound effects and things like that. So it's out there, it's announced, we talked about it on the podcast, which is coming out on Saturday, and we'll get some info out with specifics, but that is it. About 3,000 words. Get your short story in by the end of September. Probably best to email it to me at ben at boneheadpodcast.com or the boneheadpodcast@gmail.com. Just get in contact if you want to send it. But we're really excited to see what stories you come up with, and I'm really excited to support the winner in making an audio version. And to that end, we've got a little snippet of the kind of thing that we'd like to do. I'm just going to attach it to the end of this this outburst. I think it's probably right, this outburst, this announcement. So give it a listen. Hopefully it will inspire you to write some Blood Bowl stories, get them into us, and hopefully work with us on 1 or 2 audio versions. So have a listen, get in contact if you've got any questions, but otherwise, get writing.
Blood dripped from his cheek. It fell like a crimson rain onto the pitch. An offering to the pantheon of fans and foes in the stands, whose very screams and chants were barely overshadowed by the ringing in his own ears. He pushed himself to his knees, his eyes struggling to focus, desperately searching for a moment of clarity and some semblance of sanity. In the moment before, he had been on his feet. His spirits were raised and carried high by the cheering of spectators. He could recall the dull thud of the kick and the stampede of armoured feet. The roar of the crowd and the clash of armoured bodies were just a background splendour to the sight of the falling ball. He could recall it clearly, descending towards him, the world slowing as it fell, like sunset on a summer's eve. He could see it very clearly now. The ball was falling and he was ready for his moment, and then the sky had fallen. Like a meteor from the heavens, the glimmering object had flown at him. He was so distracted by the ball he was unable to react until it was almost too late. Recoiling just in time, the burnished steel tankard missed his forehead and crashed hard into his pauldron, bouncing off and into his cheek. The force of the blow had spun him around and he himself crashed to the ground. The ball. Where was the ball? Sharply, he came to his senses and bolted to his feet. It had been heading right towards him. He raised his head to find he had been spun fully around and could see his own end zone, the team name proclaimed boldly in their colours on the grass. The pews stacked behind seemed as tall as mountains, with all the world's people lining the seats. Banners waved, costumed performers danced and leaped from spot to spot. Vendors weaved their way between the oceans of fans like ships on water. They were here to see him. They were here to see him die. He gritted his teeth and spun around, his studded cleats bracing deep within the earth. He was ready. The reinforced pig's bladder was less than 3 feet away, its silver spikes gleaming in the sunlight. The cacophony of the crowd surged in time with his steps. He swept the ball from among the lush green blades of grass and cradled it tightly against him. This was his moment.